Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here. This is Shemi. So hopefully you can hear me fine, and I see that the picture is pretty clear. So that's always a good sign. So happy Saturday if you're in the States. I'm so happy that you're here. And we'll get started in just a few minutes. We'll just wait for some more people to come in. But welcome to Wonderlust Live. So we're going to have a great time. I absolutely love seeing all of your amazing flowers. Thank you so much for tagging me on Instagram. It was so inspiring. You gave me more ideas. I spent a couple hours making some of the wacky scrap paper flowers myself. So it was really fun. Hello, Rebecca. Sorry, hopefully that's your name. My computer is a little bit far away from where my camera is, so I kind of set up my table a little bit far away because there's a window that gives me really good light. But I'm so happy you're here. We'll wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. Because I have a lot to show you, as always. So much fun. There have been some amazing lives so far. Wow, I can't wait to go back and watch everyone's live. All the interviews, all the great stuff. This is a wonderful event. I'm really enjoying it. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed yesterday. Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. One more minute. Takes a little bit time, I know, to navigate. Sometimes there's some lagging too. Can't quite see that people are live. Hello. Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad that you have a lot of pressed botanicals. I love pressed botanicals. I just did a whole bunch of flowers from my gardening. So I love pressing them during fall, and it's so great. You have so many fun things that you can use in your art or just to look at in your house. So it's such a fun practice. Oh, wonderful. Thank you for telling me. So the other live is just ending. Okay. I'm so glad that you're looking forward to today. Hopefully, we'll have a great time again. Wow. I agree. There's never too much creativity. It's totally fine. Overlapping is good. Oh, I'm so glad that your kids like the live stream. That's great. Oh, you're very kind. I'm happy to be here for another lesson too. It's really fun. Okay, so welcome to Wonderlust Live, and we're going to get started because, of course, I have a lot to do, as always. So we are going to paint up some beautiful leaves. I did press these, and I'll explain about that a little bit. You can add colors to these and kind of embellish them even further. I'm going to stick with black and white, and then if there's time at the end, I'll show you how I made these two. But it's really, really simple. you can use basically anything. Even a Sharpie will work, a black Sharpie, and just some cheap acrylic paint. And you're going to need leaves, of course. I live in Colorado, so we have the most beautiful fall here. It's definitely my favorite season. And we have aspen trees, and they all change. And it's so, so beautiful with all the gorgeous colors. So I wanted to kind of pay homage to that and to create an art journal page surrounding that. So that's kind of what the point of this little lesson's going to be. So you can embellish these however you want. I personally like when you can still see the leaf. So maybe painting a portion of it or just doodling on top of it. But as I said, you can paint the whole thing with paint, or this one I use paint pens. So whatever you want is totally fine. If you're not into putting these in your journal too, I just thought about you could make a pretty wreath, or you could make it on like a tablescape would be really cool for Thanksgiving if you celebrate that, or for a really nice autumn dinner. You can also, you don't have to use autumn leaves. You can also use green leaves too. So if you're on the other side of the world, you can still do this project. You just need to dry out your leaves a little bit too. And yeah, so it's really fun. Another fun thing too, that I see, because I go hiking sometimes in Colorado, is people will leave like leaves and twigs that they paint on a trail. And it's just really beautiful. And sometimes kids will pick them up and they can take them home. And it's just a little piece of community art that's out in public. So if you want to do that, you can too. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. So what I did was I have this big book, and I went a couple weeks ago and I just added some leaves to the pages of this huge book and I just press them. And what this does is it dries out the leaves. I'll show you here. These are ones that I got yesterday. So as you can see, they curl a little bit. So it's really nice if you can press them. If not, that's okay. You can maybe just weigh them down and let them dry out too. But it's nice if you press them in a book. Okay. And then you can absolutely just work with them pressed, but you can also put on a coating of Mod Podge or even Elmer's glue all, and that makes them a little bit more flexible. So these this one I didn't press. It was kind of flat itself. It got a little bit wet. It was in my garden. So you can see that it does have a lot of texture, but it is more flexible when you coat them. They don't break as easily. They're a little bit more durable. Okay. And it doesn't take them very long to dry. So just like an FYI. Okay. So what we're going to do first is we're going to add some acrylic paint, just some plain white acrylic paint to some of our leaves. I'm going to grab a couple out. So, and as I said, you can use green ones. I'll show you here. So this is just green leaves that I pressed and I let them dry out just for a day or two. I mean, you can even do overnight and it's fine, or a couple weeks. Whatever you like is perfectly fine. And they're so pretty, and they do darken up. So when you find them on the ground, if they're a little bit pliable, they will get darker. So you kind of probably want to keep that in mind too. So let's grab a couple out of here. Any heavy book will work for this process. These you can see that I pressed in a hurry. The leaves come in all different shapes and sizes. This one's really pretty. It's very delicate too. Maybe this guy. I like those. Perfect. And then I did do a few that I did in advance that I did seal with Mod Podge. Okay. Alrighty. And I am a messy painter, so this might be a good time to put on your apron. And there's an amazing apron for the live, for Wonderlust Live, that you can get. So I think they'll put a link to that, so you can go check that out too. And I'm just going to take a brush here. And as I said, I want a little bit of my leaves to show, so I can paint just the side or the edge or maybe one half of it, to whatever you want. This is just a soft bristle brush, and I'm going to go in and just paint them. So I'm going to do the tip on this one. And I'm using white, but use whatever color you want. And we're going to paint these. And this is just paint, cheap paint, craft paint. So nothing fancy. And we're just going to paint maybe the side of this one. This one I didn't press that well, as you can see. So it's a little bit crinkly, but I like that. I don't mind it. You can add just a touch of water if you want kind of a more defined line. If you kind of just go in on the edge of your brush, you can get that beautiful line. So if you ever get the chance to come to Colorado, come in the fall where you can see all of the beautiful aspen trees turning. They're so pretty. It's definitely one of my favorite things. Okay, and then I really love how this one looks. Maybe for this one, what should I do? Maybe I'll do the edge. I love how they're overlapping. I don't think I want to take them apart, actually. So maybe we'll just do the tips. And, you know, sometimes you just have to go with your gut, which is one of the great things about creating art. You can do what you want, no explanation needed, right? Which is nice. Just like that. So we just gonna let these dry for a few minutes. You can keep going. I have some that I prepped. I'll show you what they look like here. Just because I wanted to make sure they were nice and dry. So I did a few here. I even painted a purple one. That's my favorite color. So yes, but you see here that I did leave a lot of the leaf showing. So that's how they look. Really great. So we're going to set these aside. I'm going to put them on this plate, and then we're going to do the background for our page, which is also going to be all about texture. I love texture. But we are filled with so many beautiful things in nature, flowers and leaves and twigs. It's just so amazing to be able to incorporate them, especially into your art journal. And you can use leaves that are significant to you. Maybe there's a tree that your grandparents had or something, and you can pay homage to that. So I always love to incorporate nature into my art journal pages or my art whenever I can. So we're going to go ahead, and this is just a journal, and I'm going to go to just a few blank little pages here. And I do have a background already prepped because this will take a little bit to dry. Okay. And I just have some tissue paper here. So this is a gift. I always save tissue paper because you can use it in your art practice. And that's what I'm going to use. I'm also going to use just some more of our cheap acrylic white paint. And I'm also going to use some coffee grinds. If you don't want to use coffee grinds or you don't have instant coffee grinds, you can also use just plain watercolor. This is just my Crayola set that, as you can see, gets lots of love. And I'm going to use the brown in here. So we'll do one on this side with the coffee grounds, but just in case you don't want to use them or you don't have them, we'll also use the brown here too. Okay. And you're going to need a glue stick. All righty. And what's great about this technique too is you can put things underneath this. So you can do text or you can doodle on the white part of this. I'm going to show you because, as I said, I prepped this before. I did it in my altered book that I worked in yesterday. So you're going to be able to see the text. So I love this technique. So what we're going to do is first we're going to kind of just roughly tear to kind of match our pages. I'm just tearing the tissue. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just like that. Alrighty. So you can kind of measure here and see. You can absolutely use scissors to cut it. But as you can see, it has this beautiful texture, which I love. And I think that's one of the great things about Wonderlust is that you get so many different techniques, and we all think so differently. Like the way that we do things are so different. I'm going to use my glue stick and just add it all over the page. So it's so wonderful to just have a bunch of teachers that think differently, making wonderful lessons for you. So we will have a link if you want to join us. That would be awesome. I would look forward to seeing all of your amazing art in the comments. You can check it out. And it's a year-long mixed media art journaling course. So we're going to just spread that out. And then we're going to start at the top. Okay, we're going to lay it down. And then what I like to do is I get my hands in here and I kind of crumple it down. Just like that. Because I want the texture. Right? And it's okay if it's not perfect. If it goes off the edge, we can cut. You can even layer this on top. So if you want. The edges are always the problem. So I just kind of pick those up a little bit. Edges are always the problem, aren't they? And we're going to just push that down. Even when I'm painting, I forget the edges sometimes. So, like on a canvas, I'm like, Shemi, why don't you remember? So I'll do that. And we're going to press it down just like that. And we just create just the most beautiful texture so easily. Just like that. And you don't have to do this. You could just create a very simple background too. So it's all about what you like. I just wanted to show you that you can use that tissue paper that people give us for gifts or that we have in stashes. You can incorporate it into your journal. So I'm just going to take this and actually I can just tear this off just right on the edge here. And we're just prepping a background here. It's okay if things aren't perfectly glued down. That is totally fine. We'll do this side too. Just like that. And I'm going to remember to put the cap on my glue stick. I found it this morning, one that I had, and I was making the flowers from yesterday. And of course, I forgot to put the cap on my glue stick. It's a wonder any supplies survives. I get so excited. Okay, there we go. So that's how it looks. Very cool. I'm going to put just a little bit up here, a little bit of glue up here. There we go. Okay. So now for the kind of messy part. So we're going to start on this side and we're going to use the coffee grounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some out and just using my hands, I'm going to kind of just rub it between my fingers and make it a little bit smaller. Just like that. That'll be just a little bit easier for it to break down and give us beautiful color. And I love this technique. It gives kind of this antique, kind of grungy look, which I like. I love bright colors, but sometimes I like things a little bit neutral and quiet. So, perfect. Okay, so now we're going to take the paint, and you can have a spray bottle or even water with a paintbrush will work for this technique. And you're going to just squirt out some paint. So we'll put maybe 3 or 4 dots or lines, whatever you like. And then we're going to just sprinkle the coffee right on top. Just like that. And then I'm going to take a wet brush, flat brush, whatever brush you want. And I'm going to apply that gorgeous color all around my page. And it just picks up the texture so beautifully. And the coffee kind of gets into the nooks and crannies. I really love this. And you can add more coffee grinds if you want. Don't worry, if this is not your thing, we're going to do it with watercolor too. So you don't have to worry. But I just love how you can just play with that beautiful texture. Just like that. And we're not going to stop there. So I'm going to get some more grinds. Okay, and I'm going to just make them a little bit smaller by just rubbing them in my hands. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to sprinkle it just at the top of my page or wherever I want. And then I'm going to take some water. And if I have enough, it's going to create these beautiful drips. Alrighty. And we can even add more in. And it really goes into those nooks and crannies. Let's add a little bit more. Of course, your hands are going to smell like coffee after you're done with this. You could also do this with tea bags too. I've tried it with tea bags and it works out great too. Look at that. Just pretty. And all of that gorgeous color just kind of goes into all the nooks and crannies. So I really love how that looks. Okay, so that one's done. Now, if you don't want to use the coffee or you just want to try the watercolor, we can do that. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to spray my brown. And maybe I'll spray another color too. So we can have maybe a warmer brown. So maybe like a yellow. Sometimes I like to mix my brown. And let's just give that just a second to dry. And we're going to put down some paint. Again, at the top, just a few little places, little drops. Alrighty, and I just have a wet brush here. Okay, and I'm going to go into my yellow, just get a little bit of yellow out, just a tad, and then I'm going to go right into my brown and activate it. Okay, and then I'm going to mix those together. And you get this really pretty brown color. And you can kind of go back in. And if you don't want to get the acrylic paint into your watercolors, then you can do this on a palette, which is probably better. But this is kind of my play watercolor little set. So it doesn't bother me too much. But with your fine watercolors, you do not want to do this. Okay. So it gives a different technique. It gives kind of a different finish, but it's still pretty. I still like it. You still get into those crevices, and it just gives you kind of a different finish. But I like both of them. So I'm just going to get rid of some of that. I'm going to start wiping away some of that paint that I got on there and getting some of the pigment. And it just gets right into all those nooks and crannies. You see here that it's bubbling, but I love that. I love the texture. I even tear into these sometimes to give it a really grungy look. I get just a little bit of water. And if you want, you can go back in with your white paint and kind of lighten this even more. We can even add some splatters. So we can go in and take it and add a few little splatters here. And then I will get a paper towel or even a baby wipe and wipe that clean too. So that way, let's try this one. Won't damage our watercolor here. Very good. Okay, so you can close that. We're going to let this dry completely. Okay. And you can even spray this if you wanted to too. So you could even see if it will drip a bit, which it does. So you kind of get that traveling of the coffee. But I definitely prefer the coffee, the instant coffee. But it's your preference. Whatever you like is fine. So I'm just going to set that aside. And we'll just kind of push those coffee grounds away. And now we're going to work on our leaves. So for our leaves, I'm going to just do some simple doodling. Okay, I want to bring really, really simple. So we're just going to create just some basic shapes. I think that sometimes we overthink doodling. So first, we're just going to start out with just a few of my favorites. I'm just using a Sharpie just so you can see it because it's going to be a little bit small on the leaves. So we can create scallops. So we're just going to take half circles. I like to do 3 and just stack them up. And then we're going to do same here. So we'll maybe use like a finger to give us a little bit of spacing. And that's when we'll start our other little scallop there. And then in between those, we're going to make 3 more lines. And you can keep building this out. So keep adding the bumps, and then you can build it out into a whole different pattern. Okay. And then if you want to just stick with shapes, we can do circles. And with circles, I like to make a big circle, a small circle, maybe a bigger circle, and I can bud them up together. And the cool thing is that when you're doodling, you can add and you can embellish some of the shapes. So I can go in and add and color them in, and that just adds a really cool variation. So these would be really cool patterns, I think, on a leaf. So we're just going to keep going. Oh, so you can just keep building however you want. And another one that we can do is, I have coffee on my hands here, is we can just make little dashes. Those are always a great way to fill up a space of color, or dots. So you can just take your pen and just make a bunch of dots. It's meditative. I am definitely a messy doodler, so I don't spend a lot of time doing it, or I move my hands really fast. But I love those beautiful, gorgeous, very detailed Zengtangles. I think they're so pretty, and I love them. But I just normally don't take that much time to do it. But that's the beautiful thing about art, is you have to do what makes you happy, right? So if you're very detailed, I think that that is absolutely wonderful, and that's what you should do. And if you're very neat, that's great too. So great. That's what I love about the art community, is everyone can be whoever they are. So we can do that. And then you can fill them in. So you can fill them all the way in, or we can even add lines here. And that would be a really good doodle too. So that's just triangles. It's just very simple shapes. Okay. And then if you wanted to play off like a large half circle, we could do that. And then maybe fill in this part. So maybe you'll start at the bottom of one of the bigger leaves, and you could do this kind of pattern at the bottom. So we could fill in half of the circle, and then we could do little bumps like that. And we could maybe add lines in them. So you can just keep embellishing with just simple lines. And then maybe we can do another row, or we can make little dangles that hang down and add little V shapes. And you can keep building this shape. So I think you get the idea, but we're just going to take our paint pens. I'm using black and white, and we're just going to doodle and have a great time. So I just wanted to give you some ideas. And you guys are probably better doodlers than me, so or mark makers than me. But it's so fun. It's a great way to pass time. So let's see if ours have dried a little bit. They have. So that didn't take very long. So we're making great time. So it's only been about 30 minutes and they're already dry. So that's great. Alrighty. So over here, I just have some paint pens. As I said, you could even use Sharpies for this. So this is another great one to do with your kids. And I might add just a little bit of metallics. Let's see here. So I'm going to grab my black and white pens, plastic paint pens, whatever kind of pens you want are totally fine. Even Sharpie is good for this. And we're going to start doodling. So let's start with just a simple shape, or even lines work great for this too. So let's maybe do on this one, let's do some lines. So I'm going to just make 3 lines going this way, and then I'm going to make the lines go in another direction. So just pick wherever you want on this line here, the last line I drew, and I'm going to make 3 more lines. And I'm just going to keep building that shape. So I'll turn it again, and then we're going to make 3 more lines. So 1, 2, and 3. And then you can even fill these in too. So we can do 1, 2, 3. And then in between this shape, I'm going to put 3 more lines. 1, 2, and I'll have to sneak 1 in. And then if we wanted to, we could fill it in even more. Okay, so that's the way that looks. And if you want to, you can just repeat. But for this one, let's make some scallops. So we'll do this one and this one and this one, just like we did in our little practice. We'll go here and here and here. Oops. And you see it's not perfect. That's totally fine. The great thing about making patterns is they don't have to be perfect. And I like when things have our hand in them. And I just didn't complete the half circles there. So I stopped. So the white paint just made me stop. There we go. And we're just going to keep adding. Keep layering up our leaves with doodles. And you can do this in color. You don't have to do it in black and white. I just wanted to make it super simple so you don't need a bunch of supplies. And this will work with the Sharpie. I will prove it to you too. So there we go. So that's the way that looks. And I like when things kind of go off the edge a little bit. So that looks like that. That would be fun to add to an art journal page, I think. And then you can even play with the stem too. So you can paint the stem if you want. Maybe I'll use a whiter paint pen here. Use this guy. So we can do like stripes. It can be a little bit difficult, but you might have to turn it around here. And just be a little bit delicate because they are leaves. They are still a little bit fragile. But you can see there that it has some spots on it. So really fun. All righty. Okay. And then let's use a Sharpie for this one. So I'm going to grab a Sharpie. And we can do just basic. Let's just do dashes for this one. And again, just be a little bit gentle. You can see here that I pressed a little bit hard. So just hold the pen kind of back a little bit, and that helps you not to press so hard. I definitely overpress on things. I can't open a jar to save my life, though. Okay, there we go. So that's kind of cool, too. And I love that you can see the beautiful color from the leaves. But again, your preference, whatever you want to do is fine. So you can keep going, keep building your little leaf collection. Let's grab one of the purple. Let's grab the purple one that we did. So for this one, maybe we can do triangles. I think that would be great. And then we can embellish this one further. So we'll add some black to this one just to make it a little bit interesting. So is it autumn where you guys are? I love autumn or fall. It's my favorite season. Very good. So that looks interesting. I just use a metallic pin here. Alrighty, and I'm going to let that dry just for a few minutes, and then we'll go in and we'll add some black and white. But that's how that one looks. So you can keep going. This is so addictive. So much fun. And we can just do lines too. So for these guys, I think they would just look good with like stripes. So we'll do that. Just like that. And then you can go in and add dots on top of them after they dry. Let them dry, Shemi. Let them dry. And let's see what other ones I have here. I think I painted a solid color. And we can also add words too. So let me grab maybe this black one. So maybe we can add the word hope here. And I'm going to do some cursive that I'm very bad at. So please forgive me. Hope. Perfect. You can have messages in your art too. I think that's pretty awesome. Okay, and then we can fill them in just like that. Good. And then we can add maybe some circles, just plain circles. And you can outline them if you want to. That will add just a little bit of interest. I love to fill, I hate my handwriting, so I love to fill it in. All the open spaces, and it makes me like it a lot more, especially when it's metallic. It makes me happy. Then I don't pay attention to my messy handwriting. Very good. Just like that. So that is so cool. Hope. So we can do that. Wonderful. I'm so glad that your kids are loving it. I just glanced over. That makes me super happy. So then we can grab some black and we can outline some of these. So with doodling, I think it looks even better when you embellish a simple shape. Oops, this does not like me today. I don't think it's quite dry. I think the metallics take a little bit longer to dry. That's all right. But you kind of see the point is that I'm just going over the shapes. Okay. I think we'll have better luck with this one. I forgot the metallics take a little bit longer, a little bit more time to dry. So we can add dots here. So we can put just some dots on. Just very simple. Sometimes when I'm making an art journal page or something, when I add details, it just kind of brings everything together. So I tell myself, don't criticize yourself yet, right? Let it dry, step away, and keep going. So that's how that looks. I love how that looks. Perfect. Okay, so you can just keep going, keep decorating all your little leaves until you have quite a pile of beautiful leaves. So I have this one. And then I think we have time, so I will show you the paint pen one. And then I'll have to stop here, though, pretty quick. I can do this forever. I have a whole pile of these in a second. So if you want to add, let's get a plain one here. If you want to do your paint pens, you can just take them, whatever color paint pens you want, and just make V shapes. And then take another color and do the same. Does not have to be perfect. As I said, I like the leaf showing, but you don't have to. You can fill the whole thing up. So do whatever makes you happy. And I'm not even going in order. I'm just kind of being a little bit not thinking about it. I like the way that that looks. And then I can let that dry and I can go in and add more embellishments. Kind of pretty. It looks kind of like a feather or something, but I love it. It's really pretty. Okay. And then if you want, like on this one, we can even add in a word. So we could maybe put love here. So we can do L-O-V-E. Very bad cursive. Okay, so we can fill that in. So you can do that too, whatever you like. So the possibilities are endless. Hopefully I've given you a lot of ideas. Okay, so let's go back to our, I'm going to take these off of the table. Alrighty, and I'm going to grab my journal, which I put over here. So this is the one that I made earlier, and it's nice and dry. So I did the same thing with the coffee technique, but you can see that there's a little bit of text that comes through, but you still get this gorgeous texture. And what you could do, if you want to even play a little bit more with that texture, is you could go in with a paint pen or even some acrylic paint, and you can just rub on that gorgeous color and play with the texture even more. So I am so excited to share my lesson with you guys for Wonderlust. I've been working on it this week, so it'll be a little bit before it's due, but so excited. Okay, so you see that we played with the texture there. So that looks so cool. So if you wanted to, you could just grab one of your leaves and just stick it on there. And I think that's so pretty. And you have just a beautiful treasure from the fall and something beautiful that you created and you embellished. So we can even do this one. So you can try out from your little collection of leaves what you like. You can even layer them on top of each other. And I think that would be great too. But I thought, well, maybe you would not, maybe you want this to have a little bit more protection. So we could make a quick pocket. So I don't know about you, but I have a ton of sticker sets. And a lot of times they come with this plastic or even with stencils too, and some stamps. So they usually have this plastic on them. So I thought we could take this and just cut it off and make a little pocket too. And then that will protect our leaf. But you don't have to do that. You can absolutely just glue it right to the page too. But just in case you want it preserved. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. Just going to cut that off. And it's just plastic. Okay, and then I'm going to grab just some washi tape. And I'm going to pick which one I love. I really love this one with the lines, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to kind of measure it. And then I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger than what I need. And I can take this, use it as like a template, and we can cut that out too. So right on the edge. Just like that. And I always have a ton of plastic around, and I try to keep as much of it as I can because I can usually come up with ideas for how to use it. And you just want to make sure that it's a little bit even. So I see here that my cutting was not that good, which happens a lot. So I'm just going to take it and I'll just trim it down a bit. And hopefully my leaf will fit in there. You might want to measure. Okay, and then we're just going to take them and put them together like this. And then on one side, you don't really have to worry about a pocket. I mean, I buy a lot of old books, and there are definitely pressed botanicals that have lasted a really long time, so you don't have to do this step, but I thought just in case you wanted to, think of a way to preserve them or you'll be opening up your journal a lot, and you don't want them to get ruined. This is a great way. So I just took half of it and put it together, and then I folded over the other half. I'll show you again without me talking. Okay, do that. So, and we don't have to make it go all the way to the edge either. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to put it on half of the plastic. I'll turn it around so you can see. So half. This is definitely not a perfect pocket. It did not measure very well. And we're going to take it and we're going to fold it over. And it creates a little pocket. Just like that. Wonderful. We'll do the same thing over here. And let me just check the time here. I think we're still doing good. Okay. And be sure to tag me if you do any part of this process, even if it's just the tissue paper background. I love to see. And you can use colored tissue paper too. And I think that would be awesome. I haven't tried it, but I want to. So I think that would work really, really well. And then you can just stick it there, put your leaf in, and you have a gorgeous little pocket. And that looks really cool. So you could do something like that if you want. This I just did white paint. So if you did not want to do all the texture, you could do it this way too, and then just stick it in to your journal. I recommend that you use maybe double-sided sticky tape would work well for this. Then it'll be a little bit transparent, but you know what? Even Elmer's glue all will hold this plastic. I've tried it. And it will also hold the leaves too. So I'm going to do this one with the pocket over here, just plain, just a little swipe of color there, nothing fancy. And in double-sided sticky tape, you can even get this at the Dollar Tree if you're in the States. You just tear it off, and then it has this piece of white, and you just peel it off. So you go to the edge here. I have no nails, so sometimes I have to get like a skewer or something to get the white off. And you see sometimes it will want to take out the adhesive too. So you just press it back down, use your fingers, and just varnish it really well. And that works very, very well. And you can stick it down just like that without the coating. I think that looks much better. And then you could even change out your leaves too. That would be awesome. So you can maybe take this out and put in another one. You can try things out a little bit. Actually like this one, but I don't think that it will fit. It's too big. So maybe we could do this guy. That one's good. With the black and white, I think it goes very well. And you can even do this with masking tape too. I think that would be really great. So we can stick this in here just like that. Might have to fadoogle it a little bit, but that looks cool. And this guy we're going to put on this page because I just love that one. And I think the more art you create, the more you see what you like and what you love. So that's why wonderful programs like Wonderlust are so great, because you create just so much art, the volume of art, you just find what you love, which is such an important process of creating. And then it becomes your own, right? You have your little twists and you feel comfortable because you've made so much art and you've made a lot of bad art. And I make a ton of bad art. So I have just little sayings here that I'm going to add. So, and I have this one. It says, "This too shall pass," right? Because all those beautiful gifts of nature, they do pass, but they come back next year. So we can put that there. So you could even add words on top of your leaves too, and that would work out great. love that. That looks really cool. Wonderful. And then if you want, we can add a splatter. But I think I'm going to stop there. I like that a lot. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat. You're awesome. I really appreciate it. But that is how it looks. So I cannot wait to see all of your amazing leaves. And I really hope that you join me and all of the other amazing teachers for Wonderless because it's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited for the lessons. I'm excited for my lessons, but more excited for all the amazing art that I'm going to see. So it's really great. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for joining me. Oh, I agree with you. I really love the tissue paper over the text. It's my favorite, but this journal has just been so great for me. Like, I'll just kind of do a flip through. I definitely feel freer in here, and I don't know. I think it's because it's an old book and it's not precious. So I think that helps a little bit. When you have a journal that isn't precious, you can just kind of play and experiment, and it's just, it's okay if it's not perfect, if it doesn't come out well. So I think that helps a lot. Oh, I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. Thank you for spending your Saturday with me. I appreciate it. Oh, thank you guys so much. You're awesome. And I love your scrappy flowers. They're so great. Oh, thank you. And I hope you find some autumn magic. And if you didn't want to do leaves, you could do pressed flowers would be really great too. Maybe it's the end of the season for you. I thought about even twigs would be great that you painted and doodled on, and you could maybe even sew them in. My journals always get super chunky because I always come up with these ideas, but and for this, I took out half of the pages and then I glue some of them together, and then sometimes I don't glue together, but you do want to take out about half the volume of the book. I kind of get that question sometimes. Alrighty. So make sure you tag me on Instagram and I will let you guys go so that you'll have time maybe to get something to drink before the next live. But it was a pleasure being with you. I hope that you have a fabulous day. And if you have any questions, please leave me a comment. I'll kind of go through the chat and see if there's anything that I can answer. But thank you so much for joining me. Bye bye. Thank you, Wonderlust.